Hey guys, what's up? It's Phoebe from Alternative Twist Radio. Today we have Wayne Gillespie from the Famous Blue Raincoat from Australia. Welcome, Wayne.
Yeah, welcome, Phoebe. Nice to be on your show.
I'm so happy to have you on from Australia too. What a time difference.
Yeah, that's right. 6 a.m. here, so it's cups of coffee, and nice to be here. And the time difference is really weird, isn't it? No, you're a day and a half behind, so
yeah,
it's like time.
Yeah, yeah, I know. And now we're in the summer, so you guys are in the winter time now, right? It's cold.
Yeah,
there.
that's yeah, relatively cold. Though you're in California, I'm in Sydney, so it doesn't get too cold, but it can get 8 or 9 and around this time in the morning, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know what that translates into Fahrenheit, but that seems like it's pretty cold.
Oh yeah, good point. Not sure.
We're the only country in the world that does Fahrenheit. We just need to be different.
Yeah. Google that, listeners.
So now I see that you just released your album FRAZZ. So that's a really interesting title. You want to tell me about why you named your album FRAZZ and why your band is called the Famous Blue Raincoat?
With Famous Blue Raincoat, that's really my passion for Leonard Cohen and his song Famous Blue Raincoat's one of his famous songs, of course. I've even got the t-shirt. There we are. So when I was a 14-year-old, I was listening to radio and I heard Leonard Cohen, and I think that was the penny drop for me where I wanted to be a songwriter. And I don't think if I hadn't heard that Leonard Cohen on the radio when I was 14 that I would have gone down this path. So I think at this stage, what this is for me, it's the sixth album that I've released. So I just want to acknowledge that debt to Leonard Cohen, and unfortunately he's no longer with us. But so that's why the band's called Famous Blue Raincoat. FRAZZ, I guess, is a combination of folk, rock, and jazz, because I think the album sort of got flavors of all those things. And my father was a jazz piano player. He wasn't Dizzy Gillespie. He was Mick Gillespie. He's no longer with us, unfortunately. But so I grew up with a lot of jazz in the house, but I did come up through the folk scene. I kind of busked at London folk clubs in the early ’80s, and busked in Paris as well, and came up through that folk scene. And then Rob, our drummer, he's a heavy metal drummer, and he's played with members of Deep Purple and played with Steve Morse, and so he's so that combination produced FRAZZ. That's a long answer to a short question.
That's really cool. So is that an Australian thing, or because I personally never heard of that phrase, that word combination? That's really cool.
Yeah, that's just what me and Rob, who wrote the song, used to describe the music to ourselves. We were going to call the album Delusions, I think, which is one of the tracks, because perhaps we're a bit deluded after 6 albums, thinking that we were going to be rock stars, but because we were calling it FRAZZ to ourselves, then in the end we just decided that's quite a cool name, and it's not that common, so we'll use that.
I like that. That's a really cool story. So I'm going to start using that when I hear that different artists, which I think so far you're the only one that's had that awesome combination, so it's folk, rock, and jazz together. I really like that. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, it would be a great legacy to have invented a new genre of music, a name for that genre of music. Yeah, that would be pretty cool if it became known as FRAZZ everywhere.
And nowadays, all the kind of different genres of music are all kind of meshing together, I've seen. So I don't know if it's like that in Australia, but here in the US, all the different genres are meshing into one, actually a whole bunch of different ones together. So I'm definitely going to start using that phrase, if you don't mind.
Cool. No, I'm all in favor, so go ahead. Yeah.
So this is where it started originally, FRAZZ. Folk, rock, and jazz together. I like that.
Yeah, that's right. You heard it here. We're the inventors of FRAZZ.
So we talked about already before you're in Sydney, Australia. So how did that influence you guys, and how did your band form?
I'm originally from New Zealand, and I moved over here. Interestingly, at the time, I was signed to CBS Records, which later became Sony. That's how long I've been around. And they sent me from New Zealand to Australia to record an album here with a producer called Trevor Lucas, who was actually in Fairport Convention, which is one of the bands that's supposed to was the forerunners of folk rock, who invented folk rock, many people say. So that's how I ended up in Australia to work with him. And I ended up staying, and then of course met other musicians. The album, the Famous Blue Raincoat band, is Rob Grosser, I wrote the songs with, the drummer. We just wrote the songs around just guitar and drums initially. And then Nigel Gavin, who's from New York, but he's also New Zealander as well. So he settled back in New Zealand, and he came over and did some things. There's Gobi Cat, who's the bass player, who now lives in Canada. And there is Rick Robertson, who is a Kiwi sax player who now lives in Norfolk Island. And there's Brendan Powers, a harmonica player on Slow Down, who lives in the UK. Who's actually lucky enough to be on, he's played and recorded with Sting and Van Morrison. So they're all over the place, this band now. So when we play live, it's pretty hard to get the whole band together. We might be lucky if we've got one or two original members. But so it's a pretty eclectic band spread all around the world at the moment.
Yeah, I'm sure now with technology, the way things are going, I've seen a lot of bands playing remotely. So it's cool that you guys still are all around the world, but still be in the band together. So that must be really cool.
We're trying, as you say, the technology, the follow-up album to this will require a lot more technology. We were actually initially all in the room together. It's just that they've all gone separate ways since geographically separate ways since the album came out. It's a challenge for me playing live.
Yeah, I've seen even people performing remotely, and they charge like they're playing in a concert. So they charge for tickets like $5 or $10 in American, dollars. So I forgot what website they use that to perform and be able to charge for tickets, but they all play remotely. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, there's a few of those. I haven't quite worked out the mechanics of that yet, but it's becoming more of a popular thing. So hopefully we might be able to look at doing something like that. That would be fun.
The only thing that would really be hard is the time difference.
The time difference.
A couple people have to suffer early morning, late night.
And I think there's a bit of a lag too. I think there's a few tricks you have to do so that you're actually all playing in time together when you're all scattered around. But that's the way it is post-COVID, isn't it?
Mm-hmm, it is. Yeah, it's actually really cool that that's evolved since then. And I'm really happy that artists have been doing that and not let stupid COVID hold them down and still be able to perform with their bands,
Yeah. So luckily we're back to live playing. We will be able to do a live launch, which we're doing end of August here in Sydney, and then more gigs. Hopefully it's Australia and New Zealand, and who knows, we might get to California.
Yeah, that's right. You might.
Yeah.
So tell me, how did your songs come about? What's the story, the background behind your music? Because I've heard a lot of your songs. They're fun, they're interesting. I personally love Bananas. It's really, really fun.
Yeah. Actually, Bananas is probably a good one to describe, sort of, it's indicative of our process, I suppose. So we just jammed. These were just jam tracks. So we had a band called Passion Fish, and that broke up, and Rob and I, the drummer and myself, just started jamming, and he would just lay down drum tracks. So Bananas, he's just starting off playing, the drums, and I'm going, well, what's going to fit over this? And in Bananas' case, we had Gobi Cat, the bass player, is on stand-up bass, and so there's a drum rhythm, and then Gobi on stand-up bass, and that's the feel they came up with. And I to me, it was, I just had to fit some nonsensical, just came out of my mouth, bananas. He gives me bananas and tomatoes too. You don't know what I like in my stew. So yeah, that just falls out of your mouth once you've got that bedrock of rhythm, and all the songs were like that. Pretty much most. There might have been one or two that started off in the bedroom, but most of them were just, here's a drum rhythm, what is going to fit over that with, guitar or and lyrically, well, it comes from the drum rhythm really, and I'm surprised myself at what lyrics fall out of their mouth. So yeah, they were initially really just jams and impromptu things, but then I just turned those ideas into completed songs.
Do you ever come up with songs in the middle of the night and then you think you're gonna remember it, but then in the morning you're like, oh man, I remember some parts of it that didn't make sense, but then you think about it some more and then all of a sudden it comes together?
Yeah, I think it's really sad when you've got a great idea and then you can't remember it later, and that happens a lot. That's happening more and more to me now. Try and keep it used to be a notebook. Now you can just use voice recorder on your phone. So yeah, it's great when you capture it. But there's a few you think, that's such a great idea, I'm going to remember that in the morning, but it's just sort of disappeared.
It's like a dream that just kind of peters off a little bit.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. You have this great dream and then you can't really remember it the next morning. Yeah.
That's too funny. So while we're talking about your music, why don't we take a pause and we'll watch your music video.
Yes, you're going to watch Brick by Brick, which was our first single. And that's a lyric video, so that's got some stills of the band, because as I say, we're all over the place. We couldn't be in the same room, so there's just stills of band members shot at different gigs over time. And Brick by Brick, it's probably a good analogy for building things up that have broken down, and I guess surviving the COVID era, and now also looking at the terrible invasion of Ukraine. It just seems we're all having to start over and build things up,
Let's build it up, brick by brick. Let's put it back, stick by stick. Replace everything that we tore down, bricks and mortar and cement. Replace everything that we tore down. Oh, we could be magnificent. Gotta find a way to calm you down. Gotta find a way to soothe you. Gotta find a way to calm you down without putting out your fire, and build it up stone by stone. Turn this graveyard plot into a home. Oh, we'll be stronger than we were before. We'll learn to do what we forgot. Oh, we could build a citadel on this dusty vacant lot. Gotta find a way to calm you down. Gotta find a way to soothe you. Gotta find a way to calm you down without everything that we've learned. We tore it down, we can put it back. All the tinder that we've burned. Gotta find a way to calm you down. Gotta find a way to soothe you. Gotta find a way to calm you down without putting out your fire. And build it up, brick by brick. And put it back, stick by stick. And build it up, stone by stone. Oh, there's no need for us to be alone.
That was a great video, Wayne. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, that's a pleasure. Yeah, that's brick by brick, and that's got a few still shots of the band. We couldn't all get together in the same room because we don't live in the same countries anymore, but gives you a bit of a flavor of the players that were in it. And the theme of starting again is pretty relevant, I think, these days. We've had COVID, we've got the war, invasion of Ukraine, and you know, it's a lot of destruction, and you know, let's build it up brick by brick, I guess, just to hope that we can put things back together.
That was great. Well, I'm so glad that you took the time, especially so early in the morning, Wayne. I apologize.
Thank you, Phoebe.
Yes, I'm so happy to have you on, and keep sending me your music as you release more and more. Keep sending it, and of course, we'll put it on our station. I really enjoy your music.
Thank you, Phoebe. I really appreciate your interest and just support playing the music as well. And yeah, all the best with Alternate Twist. Also, yeah, it's a great thing to be supporting independent music around the country, around the world. Yeah. Hi, this is Wayne Gillespie, and our band's Famous Blue Raincoat, and our new album's called FRAZZ. And you're hearing us on Alternative Twist Radio. And you can catch us, Wayne Gillespie and Famous Blue Raincoat, on Facebook or our website.
Thanks for watching, guys. Please share, like, and subscribe to our channel, and find us on all of our social media, links in our bio. Thanks.